New Orleans sports Twitter can be a brutal place sometimes. And, we'll go after our own players and this and that and say different things about them and make jokes and clown them. But one thing I've found is, and not for every player that, has come through our teams, but for a lot of them, we clown them. But once the national media gets on them and starts being disrespectful, we tend to jump and be like, nah, that's our guy, right? Like you're not about to clown him the way you're trying to clown him and be disrespectful. That's our guy. And, at least on my timeline, I saw a lot of people defending Zion when those Stephen A. Smith comments came out. And I love seeing that.
We can't just have all giants. What kind of small guys are
like, he's got to get him. He's got to get him.
We got to pack it up.
Because if we don't get it, somebody else is going to get it.
And drink straight out the bottle.
Cheers.
Let me talk to you. Welcome to the Who Effing Knows podcast. Don't know what episode it is. We stopped caring about that about 5 episodes ago. Here's the deal tonight. Rolling solo dolo tonight. Patty's out doing Patty things. I have no idea where he's at. Hashtag find Patty. Hashtag where on earth is Patty. We're supposed to have another guest lined up. He had to go do some family things. So it was either don't put out an episode this week or roll solo dolo, talk about some stuff, see what we can get going. These episodes got to come out. We probably going to miss a week or whatever for Christmas. Can't miss too many. We built a reputation of being here every week, so something's got to get done. So here I am, rolling solo dolo, going to talk about a few things. Going to be a shorter episode than normal because I'm by myself. We'll see how this goes. If you like the episodes without Patty and just me, maybe we'll get rid of them. So leave that in the comments if you're a fan of the non-Patty episodes. Here we go. First thing I want to talk about this week is I think we skipped over it a little bit last week, Patty and I, because we did the Pels watch along that didn't go as planned. We mentioned it in this, but we didn't really dive in. And I don't want to dive in too much because this is a me and Patty topic, really, and I want to get his thoughts on it. But I'll touch on it briefly. Tulane got a new head coach. In case you've been under a rock, Willie Fritz left and went to Houston. There's some things going on with that. Tulane hired former Troy head coach John Sumrall. Yeah, there's been some things going on in the program. Players are leaving for the portal, which is expected. When a coach leaves, players are going to leave. There's a deadline for when players can enter the portal. So, just because they enter doesn't mean they're gone. We've seen it already with other schools. So, yeah, these guys are entering the portal. The issue with Tulane has been that these guys jumped in the portal. Willie Fritz left. Some of these other coaches were still on the staff that are going to join him in Houston, and they're actively recruiting players from Tulane to go to Houston while still coaching Tulane. That didn't sit right with me. I don't know how Patty feels. I'm assuming that didn't really sit right with him. It hasn't sat right with the fan base, that's for sure. Tulane Twitter has been in an uproar, and I think rightfully so, right? I think there's a way to go about things, and that was one thing that Coach Sumrall said in his press conference, that he wanted to do things, quote, the right way. And, whether he's taking a shot or not, I don't know. It sure feels like it. A little subtle jab there at the previous regime. And look, all love to Willie Fritz. He gave Tulane fans probably the best memory, of their lifetime, winning the Cotton Bowl and with last year. And even with this year, they fell short a little bit. The two most successful seasons, probably in history. And it felt good. All love to Willie Fritz for that. But I think it's fair to feel kind of jaded when it comes to Willie Fritz in this whole situation, because I don't know, man, that just doesn't sit right with me. Like I said, I don't think the right way to handle this was to actively try to poach players from your former school before the season is even over for them. Coach Sumrall said it best. He came here from Troy, and he told his players at Troy, if they entered the portal before the bowl game, don't ask him to come to Tulane. Also, he's not taking any of his coaches with him until after the bowl game. He said he won't make any of those decisions until after the bowl game. He said he felt an obligation to his players and that program that they built, that they had a job to finish the season out at Troy, and he just felt that was the right thing to do. And I'm with that. I agree with that. Man, I'm just I don't know how to feel about Willie Fritz right now, to be honest with you. Like, I don't want to say anything bad about the guy, but I think the question that keeps coming into my head is, yes, Willie Fritz built a winning culture here, but with Coach Sumrall and just initial impressions, I keep asking myself, did Tulane upgrade in the person department, in the culture department? It just feels like Coach Sumrall is bringing a different culture, and this is not to knock necessarily Willie's Coach Fritz's culture, because every player we've ever talked to on here has hammered home how much Tulane has felt like a family since they've been there, and that's great. But if you could be a fly on the wall with some of these players right now, or just hear their thoughts, I'd be intrigued to see how they really feel about this situation. And we'll never really know, most likely, but I'm sure some of them are a little hurt by what's going on. But I think Coach Sumrall just feels like such a good hire right now, man. He feels like he's bringing in this winning culture. He feels like he's bringing in this player first culture first and foremost, and I love that. I love everything he said. A quote that he said that I know Patty has been hammering home and loving: if you're juiceless, you're useless, and this city's got juice. And man, that I don't know, that gets me fired up and ready to run through a wall for him. I don't know, man. Just wanted to touch on that Tulane situation. We'll see how it plays out. I just think that, it's still kind of a fresh feeling, and this might be a little bit of an emotional take, but I think we may have upgraded in the person department, in the culture department, when it comes to John Sumrall. And I'm excited to see where this goes. We got some guys in the portal. We'll see how that goes. We'll see the class that Coach Sumrall is able to put together here with signing day just a few days away. I'd caution people about this upcoming season. Not that I think it would be a bad year. I think, Tulane's still going to be a good team, I believe. Transition classes are hard when it comes to new coaches in college football. So, manage expectations. If the year doesn't go as great as the last two have gone, don't discount Coach Sumrall or anything he does in this first year. Give him a little bit of leeway. Give him some time to grow. And I'm telling you, man, I think Coach Sumrall is going to be the guy, and he may end up being greater than what we just had. So we'll see how that plays out. Transitioning here a little bit. The Pels just wrapped up a game. They beat Charlotte. Zion ends up playing. He was dealing with an ankle injury. So good to see Zion out there. Good to see him playing. This was the JV game. 29 points, I believe, is what he had. Love JV. Gets unnecessary amount of hate from not everybody on Pels Twitter, but, there's a select group of people that seem to not hate or not like JV or think he's a bad fit. And I don't know. There's all kinds of different opinions on that. If you want more Pels takes from us, from our group, at the No, check out State of the Pels. Go follow the No on YouTube. We'll dive in deep to Pels every week there, so you'll get more Pels takes there. What I really want to talk about here is what's been going on with Zion since the in-season tournament game against the Lakers. He didn't show up, is kind of an understatement, or fair to say. He didn't show up in the two games we had there, which not great. But what happened afterwards with the media with Zion, anytime Zion has bad games, or that was his first huge spotlight, that was on him. And the national media, a few in particular, Stephen A. Smith being one, jumped on Zion, not for his play. So let's put it this way. It's fair to question Zion's play from those two games. It's fair to question his effort, because he was, it was jumping off the screen, his lack of effort. All season, he hasn't been rebounding. So these things you can question. You can question him on the floor. You can question the things he does between the lines. And, to an extent, you can question what he does off the court and behind the scenes, his work ethic, his workouts, his diet, whatever. You can question those things if you feel the need to, but there's a respectful way to do it. And the way people like Stephen A. Smith handled it, saying he eats the table when he goes out, man, that ain't right. Just like I just finished saying with the Tulane situation, that don't sit right with me. New Orleans sports Twitter can be a brutal place sometimes. And, we'll attack people and our own, we'll go after our own players and this and that. And say different things about them and make jokes and clown them. But one thing I've found is, and not for every player that, has come through our teams, but for a lot of them, we clown them. But once the national media gets on them and starts being disrespectful, we tend to jump and be like, nah, that's our guy, right? Like, you're not about to clown him the way you're trying to clown him and be disrespectful. That's our guy. And, at least on my timeline, I saw a lot of people defending Zion when those Stephen A. Smith comments came out. And I love seeing that. I don't like when people question, or when people start fat shaming him and things like that, man. Look, I've been somebody that's been critical of Zion his play, his work ethic. I've criticized the things he's done behind the scenes, which, to be fair, none of us really know. We're not there. We don't know what he's doing. This is all speculation based on what we see on the court. And like I said, there's a respectful way to do it. And when you start getting disrespectful, just straight up calling him fat, saying he eats the buffet, this and that, like, man, stop. That's clown behavior. You know what I mean? You can't be somebody of Stephen A. Smith's stature who knows basketball, knows the game, knows these players, has sources, all these things, man. You stop. Your sources didn't tell you he eats the table. Give me a break, bro. Like, you'd be going crazy if Zion came to the Knicks. You've been begging for that since the day he was coming in the NBA. So miss me with all of that, man. Like, that ain't cool. You know, and it was good to see after tonight. I saw Jose had an interview post game today, you know, harping on how the team has Zion's back and how he didn't like how the media handled it and everything, but he thought Zion handled it well, and he respected Zion for handling it like a pro. And Zion did, man. Zion, he handled that like a pro. I think a good way to talk about this is there's two ways, like I said, that you can do this. You can be respectful or you can be disrespectful. Go watch Shaq and Charles Barkley's comments about Zion. You know, they said kind of the same things, the same issues that Stephen A was kind of hinting at, but Shaq did it in a respectful way, saying, man, I was you. You know what I mean? And he said it as because he wants Zion to be the best player in the league that he can be. He wants Zion to reach his full potential. And that's where those things that Shaq and Charles said came from a place of love and admiration. The things that Stephen A. Smith said were just disrespectful. There wasn't no love behind that at all. That's just disrespect in the clearest form. And that was one thing Zion said when asked about it was, you know, if these things come from a place of love, then he's all for it. And he's willing to listen, basically, you know, paraphrasing, of course, but that's basically what he said. But if they were coming from places of disrespect, then he wasn't with it. And man, I respect how he handled it, and all of the Zion when he is at the top of his game, man, there's not many players better in the league than him. Do I think he's reached his full potential? No. Do I think he's done all he can behind the scenes to reach his full potential? I'm going to say no, but then again, like I said, I don't know. I'm not there. Maybe he has, right? Maybe he's done everything he can, and who knows? But I still feel like there's another level that Zion can reach. I think there's levels he can reach on and off the court, conditioning-wise, all these things. Like, we've seen him be in better shape than he is right now just last year. But he goes out and gets 36 points. The issue with Zion for me has always been do this consistently. One game isn't going to shut everybody up. But if you do it consistently, people will shut up. And at the end of the day, man, all that matters is this fan base. The majority of this fan base has Zion's back. Team has his back, and I just hope to continue to see him ball out. We're still early in the season. Give him time. Maybe he gets a little bit more conditioned. He's hearing these things. He's got this chip on his shoulder now. Like we saw it the other night with the 36 points in that game he had. I got a feeling we haven't seen the best of Zion Williamson yet this year. Something else I want to touch on a little bit. We don't talk a lot of fantasy football here. Every now and then we bring it up. You know, it's just in passing kind of when we talk about it. But it's playoff time in fantasy football if you made it. If not, it's toilet bowl time or your season's just over. And you're like me if you're in that scenario, at least in most of my leagues. What I wanted to do this week was talk about the biggest letdowns in fantasy football this year. The players that let us down the most. Most of these guys affected me in some kind of way. And that's kind of where I'm pulling this from. Just guys that were either drafted high and just let us down or came in with big expectations and didn't quite perform as well as we thought they might. So, you know, this will be our biggest fantasy football letdowns. After playoffs are over, I'd like to get a list of league winners, you know, the opposite of this. But I want to wait because, you know, somebody can have a bit too big weeks in the playoffs, and that's a league winner right there. So we'll maybe touch on that next week with Patty when he comes back, or, you know, whenever we do this again. So this is my list of biggest fantasy football letdowns this year. First guy I got is Jerry Jeudy. He is currently wide receiver 56. Now, I don't know how everybody felt about Jerry Jeudy coming into the season. And again, this is just my opinion on these guys that I thought would be good coming into the year. I thought with Sean Payton going to Denver that team would be really good. And we've seen it over the last half of the season so far that they've started to turn around. That offense is cooking. But the guy that has been balling out over there this year has been Courtland Sutton, which I love Courtland Sutton. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the league. He might be on that league winner list that I talked about. But Jerry Jeudy, man, I thought Jerry Jeudy, I don't know where I thought he would finish, but man, he's got top 15, top 10 maybe potential talent-wise, and he just hasn't put it together yet, man. I don't know what is going on with him, but I just thought in that Sean Payton offense that he would have a huge season, and it hasn't worked out that way. It's been Courtland Sutton, and then Judy's been okay, but for fantasy wise, it has not been that good. He's been okay, like I said, and compared to where he was drafted, I think maybe not a huge letdown, but that's why he's number 5 on this list. Jerry Jeudy. Number 4 is a guy that I went all in on as much as I could this year. I thought he was going to be the guy once Dalvin Cook left Minnesota. I thought Alexander Mattison was going to be a top-tier running back this year. And boy, was I wrong. Now, he had some games here and there. He's currently running back 31. Man, I think I had to take him in the 4th round in some leagues, and he was not worth that. I could tell you that. We tried to – me and one of my buddies, we have a fantasy league where – it's a dynasty league where every team is owned by 2 people that we started this year. And we tried to go all in on getting Alexander Mattison because Dalvin Cook left Minnesota mid-draft. So we tried to trade up and get Mattison, and it didn't work out. And am I glad that we didn't, because we were going all in on it. We had seen Alexander Mattison in the past. Every time he filled in for Dalvin Cook, he balled out, man. He was good. And I just thought he would get the full load and just take the reins, right? I thought he'd be the next Minnesota running back. That system is a good system for backs, and he just, I guess, we always assume with some of these systems that the back doesn't matter, that they're all going to be productive. But I guess this kind of shows there's levels to it, right? Because Dalvin Cook was an elite running back in his prime, and I guess we all just hyped up Alexander Mattison a little bit too much. Next on this list is another Bronco, which is weird because this offense has started to click a little bit at the end. A guy that I love is Javonte Williams. I think I've tried to draft Javonte each of the last 3 years. And man, he's been very good for me. And this year I went all in on him again. And he's been okay. He's running back 29, but really all of that has come in the last 4 weeks, maybe. I don't have the stats up next to me right now, but I think all that has come over the last 4 weeks. He may have had one game earlier in the season that was all right, but man, those first probably 5 or 6 weeks were terrible. I mean, terrible. Think about when the Broncos were awful, Javonte was awful. I thought he was going to lose his job for a minute there, man. He wasn't doing anything. The offense overall just looked so hard. They couldn't get anything going. Javonte was getting carries, and he wasn't even getting the amount of carries he's getting now. They started to really lean on him here at the end of the season, and I think that's kind of what has helped their offense a lot. But at the beginning of the year, he was not getting the amount of touches he's getting now. He wasn't doing anything with the touches he was getting. He wasn't really getting the passes. It's just he wasn't doing anything, man. We've seen Javonte Williams have those angry runs where he just carries dudes for yards, and it just wasn't happening. Yeah, I went into this season thinking he was going to be an RB1 all season, and that was not the case. I thought he was going to be one of these guys where you could count on 12 to 15 points every week. I was wrong about Javonte Williams. But like I said, he's come on at the end of the year here a little bit, and if you have him, you're probably starting him. He may end up being solid for you in the playoffs, so maybe he's got a chance to redeem himself. Next guy on this list was a first-round pick in probably every draft in fantasy football this year, and that's Cooper Kupp. There's always risk with drafting Cooper Kupp, especially this year. He came in with an injury. I think we all thought he was going to play, and then a couple weeks, maybe I think it was before the season, they say he's going to be on IR, but even then, Sean McVay is like, yeah, he might not miss the 4 weeks. We expect him back. And then, boom, they say he's going to miss the full time. So he's out for 4 weeks. And then he comes back, and he's Cooper Kupp, right? He comes back, looks like he doesn't miss a beat. And then he just goes ice cold, man. He He only had 4 games. He played in 9 games. He had 4 games in double digits out of those 9. And if you know, we all know Cooper Kupp is usually good for 15 points a game is what it felt like, when he was really on. To only have 4 games in double digits out of 9 this year is so unlike him. He got outplayed by Puka Nacua this year. Matthew Stafford got a new toy. Tutu Atwell had a solid year for him. Stafford seems to have taken the Andy route and thrown Woody on the floor, and now he's all in the buzz. Cooper Kupp, for me, it's a letdown. I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, why'd you draft him in the first place? And that's fair. Between missing the first 4 games and then just being average and getting outplayed by Puka all year, it's been killer. But, still a few games left here to redeem himself. We'll see how that goes. The number 1 guy on my list here is a guy that came out of nowhere last year. Maybe he didn't have running back 1 expectations this year, but I think people thought he'd be a solid running back 2 at least, and that's Dameon Pierce. If you've owned Dameon Pierce, you've had the same internal struggle that I've had all year where, should I drop him? Should I not? He's one of those guys where his play warranted being dropped, but his name was like, I can't drop this guy. I had Dameon Pierce on my roster for the entire season, and I think I maybe started him 1 time. Dameon Pierce was terrible. And this isn't like a Javonte Williams situation where he wasn't getting touches. This man was getting his touches and wasn't doing nothing with them. Nothing. He's currently the running back 50. He missed 3 games, right? Middle of the season, whatever. Even in the games he played, he scored 2 touchdowns total all year. 2 touchdowns. He only went over 50 yards twice the entire season. 50 yards twice. Never cracked 100 yards, and I think his high was 81. This is for a guy who was incredible last year. Came out of nowhere and was awesome. And if you would have seen these stats at the end of the year without watching any of the games for the Texans, you'd have just been like, oh, that offense just was terrible. Rookie quarterback, not a good receiving core, whatever. But if you watch the season, that is the complete opposite of what played out. CJ Stroud is going to be the rookie of the year. He's incredible. Tank Dell is amazing. Granted, he's hurt now, but they hit on Tank Dell. Nico Collins has been balling. Noah Brown was balling for a minute there before he got hurt. This offense is great. Dalton Schultz. The offense was great except for Dameon Pierce. And not only that, he was outplayed by Devin Singletary. And I did not have that on my bingo card this year. But shout out to if you had Devin Singletary these last few weeks, that's another guy that might be on that league winner list because he's been on fire lately. I think he's got more touchdowns in the last 2 weeks than Dameon Pierce has all season. What a letdown Dameon Pierce was. I don't know if it's over for him, if that was just a 1-year wonder kind of thing. We'll see. I hope he turns it around because I really like the way Dameon Pierce ran last year. Big physical guy. Everybody loves those kind of running backs. So that's my list. Jerry Jeudy, Alexander Madison, Javonte Williams, Cooper Kupp, and Dameon Pierce. If you got any other fantasy players this year that let you down, let your teams down, or just, across your leagues that maybe you missed out on and you thought were going to be good and just crashed and burned, drop them in the comments and let me know who you thought let you down or let your teams down, whatever. Finishing up this week, like I said, it's going to be a short pod, just me rambling by myself. It's kind of awkward. Patty's probably going to see this and laugh at this, but hey, shout out to Patty. We miss you, bud. So, something I want to do this week that I kind of want to start doing every week, and I didn't tell Patty about this. I just kind of put out a tweet earlier today for people to drop their hot takes in the comments about literally anything. Y'all know we don't come in here with a plan. We just ramble about whatever we want to ramble about, and there you go. I want to start getting our listeners, our fans, our Twitter friends, and whatever more engaged. Yeah, so I think I want to start doing this every week is have y'all drop your hot takes and we'll just kind of react to them. So first up this week, we got Russ, my buddy Russell Palazzolo drops CM Punk is a cancer. Well, I can't say you're wrong, and I don't necessarily know that that's a hot take. Now, if you're watching his first few shows back right now, then he's doing all the right things, right? Like he's doing this like CM Punk World Tour where he's going around backstage, kind of just hitting everybody up. He's posting pictures on social media with the women wrestlers in NXT that looked up to his wife, AJ. He seems to be kind of making amends, except with Seth. Which, who knows if that's storyline or whatever. But so far, everything he's doing is right? He's got the fans in the palm of his hands. Look, he may be a cancer, he may have caused issues everywhere he's went, right? People question whether he's the issue or not, but I'll say this. When you've gone to multiple different places and things continuously happen with you, you may be the problem, right? So I don't know that what you're saying is a hot take. I'm starting to fall for it a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we might get a nice little CM Punk run to finish his career off in WWE. I think this story with Seth is about to be one for the ages. That first interaction was fire. If you've been watching, that first interaction with him and Seth has been awesome. If this all collapses with him, please just get through this storyline first. Give us this, and whatever happens after that happens. But and this may come back to bite me, but I am on the side. He's going to be different now. I think WWE as a whole feels like a different place right now that Vince is gone. It's just WWE is on fire right now. Everything they're doing is a hit. I just think it feels different. There's a different vibe coming from WWE as a whole right now. I think that, there's a lot of young people there that probably look up to CM Punk and don't really know anything about what he did in the past, So maybe there's reports that he's been at NXT backstage helping out people and, helping the young guys out and training them. Like, that's awesome, man. And I'm buying in on CM Punk. So I'm buying CM Punk stock. We'll see how it plays out. We'll check back in on that in the future. All right, next up, we got Chrissy, fellow no member. Chrissy says Derek Carr isn't as bad as everyone thinks. Now, Chrissy, you are gonna try to get us flamed on here if we have to defend Derek Carr. You're about to get flamed, so don't check these comments. Derek Carr isn't as bad as everyone thinks. I think there's a tad, the smallest bit of truth to that. Between the 20s, he's had some moments. He's made some throws. He's had some big games. Where it all falls apart is once he crosses that 20-yard line in the red zone. He's as bad as advertised right now. As bad as everyone's saying he is that bad in the red zone. I can't defend that. I can't defend his play there. But you know what? Even off the field, and me and Patty have talked about this before, play aside, I'm let down by the lack of leadership from Derek Carr. I thought, and I don't know why I thought this, I never watched a lot of Raiders games. I think it was just a vibe I got from him. I thought he was going to come in and be a better leader than he is. Shout out to him. He got his linemen and whatever, a bunch of some really cool Christmas gifts, his receivers, some cool Christmas gifts. So at least he's a good gift giver, I guess. But I'm let down by the lack of leadership that he's shown, and like, he's a good person. I know he's a good person, but the excuse making, the things, the lack of accountability, I don't like it. So I can't side with you on this one, Chrissy. I'm gonna have to let you die on that hill alone. I'm sorry. And last up, our guys from After the Huddle. If you haven't seen their podcast, go check them out. I'll throw a link for them in the comment or in the description as well. I jumped on there last week with them randomly to talk some football. These dudes cover every game every week. They give their picks. I know they told me they're going to be talking draft trades here soon. They talk fantasy football, whatever you want, NFL, they got it covered. Jacob, Jared, go check them out. That's my guys. I've known them forever. And go check them out. They say, could Bill Belichick be the next head coach for the Chargers? That's not a hot take. It's more of a question. I'll tell you guys, straight up, that wasn't the rules. I wanted hot takes, not questions. But I'm assuming that y'all kind of feel that way, or you've discussed it. So let's touch on that. Brandon Staley is out finally. How the hell Brandon Staley had a job for this long? Nobody knows. He had pictures of the owner or something. I have no idea. He's gone though. We no longer get to laugh at Brandon Staley on Sundays, which is kind of upsetting. I enjoyed laughing at Brandon Staley. That's another conversation for another time. Could Belichick be the head coach of the Chargers? I think, and maybe this is a hot take in its own right, I think if Belichick gets fired or leaves New England, however that happens, I think he's done. I don't think Bill Belichick will get another job. And that feels crazy to say because of everything that he accomplished. But I think things are looking a little funny in the light without Tom Brady. And I still think he's one of the best defensive coaches there is. I think as a coach, he's fine. The GM part is kind of where it falls apart. But man, he's old. I think this new group of players they're not with that Belichick style of coaching anymore. Like, I don't think that's something that people want to deal with anymore. Look at Miami. Miami hires this young guy who is like this analytics nerd, right? And he's goofy, but man, you can tell those players for the Dolphins love playing for Mike McDaniel. Sean McVay, another one, another young guy that people just love playing for. But even like older guys like Mike Tomlin, he relates to his players and people love playing for him. Sean Payton is another one that he's going to stand by his players. And listen, when he was here, he was petty as hell. And the whole city loved him. The fans loved him. You got to be able to relate to your players. And I don't get that vibe from Belichick anymore. And I don't think these new crop of young guys coming up want to play for that. I think they all want to play for it doesn't even have to be a young coach, just an energetic coach that vibes with his players. Look at Antonio Pierce. He's got, 4 games under his belt now? That dude, man, people love playing for that kind of coach. And I don't know if maybe one of these really bad teams takes a chance on him. I don't know that the Chargers want to do that. I think you try to find a young head coach that can grow with Justin Herbert and see how that goes. And that's just my opinion. I think they really would have liked Sean Payton. They could have had him, but they stuck with Brandon Staley. I'll die on the hill that the Chargers would have been Sean's first choice. And I don't know that, obviously. But that's my belief. They stuck with Brandon Staley. Maybe Kellen Moore gets a chance. I don't know. But, man, if they could get somebody like Ben Johnson from Detroit and let him grow with Justin Herbert, that's ideal. You go with that and just let Belichick fall by the wayside, let him enjoy retirement, because I think that's the future for Bill Belichick. And the last thing they said was blind fast food rankings. All right. I think we've probably had this conversation before, me and Patty, and I don't remember what I said, so I'll do these off the top of my head for you. But the question here really boils down to, what is fast food? What qualifies as fast food? I'm going with anything that has a drive-through, minus like a Domino's pizza, those kind of things. You order. We all know what I'm talking about here. Five Guys, not fast food. I'm not counting that. So let's do this. Number 5. I'm gonna go with Smoothie King. And that's maybe one that people argue against, that it's not fast food. But a smoothie is a meal, and, man, I love me a good smoothie. So number 5 for me is Smoothie King. Number 4, I'm going to go with Wendy's. Despite working at Wendy's for 3 years, I love me some Wendy's. The Frosty is elite. The Frosty is an elite fast food dessert. Maybe the fast food dessert. That's a conversation for another time. But I'm going with Wendy's. I just like me a good home-style chicken sandwich. Listen, my kid loves Wendy's. It's easy to get. I used to smash Wendy's baked potatoes all the time. Shout out to Wendy's. Salads were always good. As long as you get them when they're fresh. Wendy's breakfast, that's the best breakfast fast food. I don't care what anybody says. Wendy's breakfast, number 1 fast food breakfast. Number 3 for me, Smalls. Smalls Sliders is my number 3. They just opened one in Slidell. It's Crystal Burgers, but, man, they're so good. And their fries are, shout out to Drew Brees because it's owned by Drew Brees. Their fries slap. It's just burgers with some kind of sauce and cheese, and Crystal Burgers, fire. Their milkshakes, absolute fire. Small Sliders, if you haven't had it, go try it. It's delicious. Number 2 for me, Popeyes. I mean, what do I have to say really about Popeyes? Popeyes is, elite chicken. Sides, bang. Everything about Popeyes is good. Chicken sandwich got us all through COVID, whatever that was. I think it was COVID times that we had the chicken sandwich. That was a moment in time. So Popeyes is my number 2. And my number 1 is Chick-fil-A. If for nothing else, you're getting through that line quick. If you need fast food in a hurry, it don't matter how long that line is. You can go sit in a 30 car line for Chick-fil-A, and you're getting through it in 2 minutes. I mean, customer service is impeccable. Breakfast is good. Everything else on the regular menu is good. They got the healthy options. Their grilled chicken is good. If you're on a diet, you could go to Chick-fil-A, get you some grilled nuggets, and that's healthy fast food for you right there. Their ice cream is elite. Their shakes are elite. Chick-fil-A is hands down number 1. Debate your mama. I don't care. Chick-fil-A is my number 1. So there you go. I can't repeat those for you because I already forgot what I said. So that's my fast food rankings for you right there. And that's all I got this week. Went longer than I thought it was going to go. It was really awkward sitting here by myself talking. I hope I don't ever have to do this again. I really don't want to have to put out clips of this because it's just weird me talking to myself. But yeah, that was fun. I had fun. Glad we were able to get this episode out. Guys, if y'all don't follow all of our stuff, head over to theknow.com. We got a crew of people that put in work to put out good articles and good content. We got a group that puts out good merch. There's merch over there. Go buy you some merch. Go to The Know YouTube. It's at Being The Know everywhere on social media. Just go to The Know YouTube. That'll be linked below. Check out all of our podcasts. We got us, Off the Dome, That Baseball Pod, State of the Pels, Pels Press. I don't even know. I know I'm missing people, and I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody, but man, we got a group over here that just puts out formally informal, that just puts out good content. Man, just go follow. Everything is at the Nose YouTube link there. You can follow playlist for every pod. You can go subscribe to everybody. Please support us. Man, we love doing this. I wouldn't be here by myself if we didn't love it. Yeah, go check that out. Subscribe to us, like this, comment on everything, engage with us. We love talking to y'all. We appreciate everybody that even spends 2 minutes watching these videos. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Catch y'all next week. Later.